Juggalos in recovery.
Juggalos in recovery, man.
All right, with that, I'm closing questions, and then we are going to jump into the WOA workshop. WOA stands for willing to be honest, open-minded, and accepting. Oh, excuse me. So for me, the willing to be honest, open-minded, and accepting is one of the things that has helped me heal, mature, and grow the most. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask the group, please raise your hand. In this context, what does willing mean? Anybody can answer. Willing to be honest, open-minded, and accepting. Go ahead, Nate.
Just, willing to try something. What I think about it, it's like when you're writing your list of people who you're going to make amends to, you're just willing to make amends. So you just, you have this open-minded, I'm gonna at least try.
Okay, I like that. So almost like instead you're putting down all the barriers that you've put up to being able to accept the change that's going on.
Yep, absolutely.
D, what you got? Unmute, dude.
So willing?
Yes,
is
willing.
Being now that you're ready, you're making a conscious choice to be prepared, ready to do whatever it takes to do to grow as a person. Whether it's when you bump into somebody you hate and you owe them amends, you're willing to do it. That doesn't mean you're uncertain about a higher power, but you're willing to believe that there is something out there. You know what I mean? You're uncertain about yourself, your own self-worth, but you're willing to believe that you are better than the choices that you made that led up to that point. So willingness can cover a whole things, but it's just being mentally prepared in your mind and your body to do something different, no matter the consequences it may bear. You know what I mean? Because a lot of people get sober, you lose a lot of friends. You lose a lot of what you identified as originally. You lose a lot of what you thought you were. Like, I still listen to the same music. I still dress the same. I still love the Juggalo community. But the person I was 7 years ago to the person I am today is not the same. And in the rooms, they'll say, the one thing you have to change is everything. Well, when they say that, they're not saying literally you have to go buy a new wardrobe and get a haircut and do this. They're saying what you have to do is change everything internally, what your concepts and your outlook on life from where you were at in addiction to where you are in sobriety. You know what I mean?
Yep. I like that.
Just being willing to do whatever it takes to make a positive change in your life, basically.
Yep.
Doesn't mean rush out and do 100 things at once, because we like to do that. It just means
don't call me out like that.
To keep an open mind, so when these things present themselves, you're willing to handle it.
I like it. Did you just raise your hand again?
I meant to mute my mic.
I like that. So willing is exactly what Nate and Dee said. It's having a mindset of being able to accomplish something. Not saying that you need to accomplish it, just that you're capable of doing it, whatever the case is. Now, honesty. This, I'm going to read what I currently have written for this in my book. So a little sneak peek. Honesty. One thing I love about honesty is that it cuts through the bullshit that people in the world throw at you. If you think about it, if you are honest, you don't have to remember what you said. The people that nitpick what you say are usually trying to discredit you. Let them nitpick. If they try and don't want to see the truth, that is on them. One thing to remember when dealing with this is that there are 3 different truths: yours, theirs, and reality. Now, all you can do is speak with honesty and be open-minded enough to accept that the way you see it isn't 100% true. Do not let ego and pride get in the way of honesty. If you don't allow your pride and ego into the fold, it will allow yourself to stay humble and act with a little bit of humility, which allows you to learn easier. Honesty is a major part of healing. It lets you dig deeper and allows you to explain yourself in the truest manner. When reflecting on yourself, you control how honest you are. During my times of reflecting, I found that in the past I had built up walls around things that were hard to process. I had to be honest with myself and accept that even those things were, excuse my words, accept that even though that those things were hard to process in the moment, those moments cannot hurt me now because they are just memories, and I need to learn from those past moments before I repeat the same things over again. You can stop the cycle from happening if you do not let the fear control what you do. Honesty with others is important as well. This is a thin line to walk through. There are different variations of honesty. I had to learn this the hard way while improving my communication skills. There is brutal honesty, which is when you speak your mind, not caring about how it comes off. There is caring honesty, which helps you communicate more effectively and have the other person or people more receptive to what you're saying. There are a lot of versions of honesty in between and outside of those 2 versions. All have a place and time to be used. This is something you can only learn over time and with experience. People are different, and the goal when communicating is to get your point across effectively and have others be receptive of what you are saying. A lot of people, uh, a lot of people, what the hell was I trying to write here? And this is why it's a first draft. A lot of people will shut down and not listen to you if you yell your feelings at them. If you get angry or upset, a lot of us get louder to make sure that our voices are heard. At least that's what I do. But I've also found that if you communicate without raising your voice, no matter how hard it is, it will be received more efficiently. This has the same effect on yourself as well. Depending on how your words, how you word things and communicate to yourself depends on how well you will learn what you are supposed to improve your life and yourself. So on top of that there, as I've grown in maturity and emotional, a mental and emotional side of it, I've realized that there are different levels of honesty, and the ones that I have trouble with are the ones that I'm I have a hard time accepting, um, or even putting into words. Um, and a lot of the time, those things that I have a hard time communicating about is there's some sort of fear or anxiety that is causing that. Um, that feeling inside when I don't want to accept my reality. Um, so, for example, I've talked about this a little bit before here and there, but I have been sexually assaulted in the past. That's been a very hard thing for me to accept and to heal from. Um, but I had to be honest with myself because the reality is it has had an effect on me and my relationships. Um, and I'm still processing some of those things. Um, but I'm in a better place now since I have accepted that. Um, what are all of your opinions on honesty, and what have you struggled with or learned when dealing with honesty? I'll start picking on you guys. This is an interactive workshop. I'm not going to deal with quiet. Go ahead, D.
This one's on honesty.
Yeah.
Without honesty, you will never overcome your addictions, your self-sabotaging, your fears, your low self-worth, self-esteem. You have to be brutally honest with yourself, which I'll talk about later when I'm talking. But that's the only way you're gonna ever overcome your own personal demons and your own problems in life. If you ain't honest to reflect on the choices and the things you do, and you can't be willing to make a change, they go hand in hand, you know? Willingness is
Mhm.
all fine, but if you're incapable of being honest with yourself about life and where you're at and the things you do, that willingness does nothing because there's no change or growth. If you're always blaming the world, the people in it, the things in it, the places in it, and why things are this way, and you never accept that you can change things, then you don't grow as a pure person. You know, honesty is definitely a key to growth. It goes hand in hand. All the topics you've picked are a hand in hand thing, and it's all like steps 1, 2, and 3: willingness, honesty, open mindedness, and acceptance. Without those working together, you don't change and you don't grow. You know, and that's just the sad fact of it, and that's why we even say, like, I wish other normal people would look at the 12 steps and use them, because that's ultimately what changes you and makes you grow. There's so many people, I've said this 100 times, that will always be stuck in their ways, that think the world's the problem, there's nothing wrong with them, but they're fucked up people and they don't drink or do drugs, and they're angry and they're miserable. It's
Mhm.
because there's no willingness to change, because nothing's wrong. Everything's the world's fault. Nothing's dead because they did something. It's always somebody did something to me, and they're not capable of being honest or open-minded and seeing a different point of view, or accepting things for just the way they're supposed to be, and look for the lesson or the blessing in it. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
It's all hand in hand. I'll lower it when I'm done talking. No, I'm playing. I'm done.
Josie, what's your opinion on honesty?
I don't like honesty because I can be too honest of a person, and I realized when I'm honest and actually willing to communicate with people, which it sometimes is very, very rare, no one actually listens to what I'm saying or believes me at some points, because I will say everything that freaking happened. I will not sugarcoat it. I will not say just what the other person did wrong. I will admit to my fuck ups and I will say all of it, whether I want to say it or not, whether I end up breaking down, whether I make a fool of myself or just say nonsense.
All right, let me ask you this then. You can be honest with other people. When was the last time you were honest with yourself?
I've been being honest with myself and pretty much yelling at myself that I actually need to take it easy and not be a dumbass right now and do too much, because I'm going to end up hurting myself. Even though I want to run around in circles and just shut my brain off, but I can't do that, even though I want to, because it would be easier. I don't like feelings, they suck.
Yes. but they are a part of the human condition.
But I don't want them.
Well, too bad. Love you too, Enzo. Go ahead, Chris.
Honesty comes with hard truths, and
Mm.
hard truths are not always easy for people to accept. Just like Josie was saying, she may not want feelings, but the hard truths and the honesty of it is they're inescapable. And that's a lot of the things that we have to be honest about ourselves with. We don't get to escape our past. We don't get to escape the hard truths of the bad things that we've done in the past. That all comes with that level of honesty.
Mm-hmm. I like that. Anybody else on honesty? Go ahead, D.
Thank you, Chris and Frank. You both said exactly what I was thinking. Honesty when it comes to other people is a touchy ground, though, Josie. You don't go and just be honest with every single person. You have your trusted network that you know, have people I can talk to about certain things. And when I'm being honest, it's talking about what I'm thinking, I'm feeling with another person. But I can't do that with everybody. Sometimes, like, there's a saying, should it be said? Should it be said by me? Should it be said right now? If I can answer no to any of those things, I don't say it to that person because it's not meant for me to say that. You know what I mean? Like, is it my place to tell this person this? Is it the right time to tell this person this? You know, like, are my motives good in what I'm trying to tell this person, or is it not so good? You know what I mean? So I have certain people for certain things where I know where they're at in life because they're honest with me and I'm honest with them and we talk about things. And those are the people I go to for guidance on different topics. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes, like, I've called Frank quite a few times and I'll pick up phone. I just need to bitch to get it out of my head and off my chest, and then that way I can let go of it. Like, I'm feeling these things that are irritating, right? When I tell somebody else what's irritating me, then I realize it's not that big a deal. It was just irritating. I got it off my chest. I feel better. Somebody understands where I'm coming from. They've been there too, and I let go because that feeling's meant to pass, not to hold on to it. You know what I mean? If we sat there and held on to everything we felt our whole lifetimes, all of us would be on 100 fucking psych meds. You know what I mean? That comes with the acceptance, though. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean?
Yep. So one thing that I do want to touch on with honesty is there is surface level honesty, where we're outwardly honest with ourselves and others. But the deep honesty is where me and I've heard a lot of people struggle with. Deep honesty is where, especially in recovery, where you look at your past and the person you are, and you have to declare the reality of the situation. You have to point out your wrongdoings, others' wrongdoings, how their wrongdoings affected you, what type of person you turned into from that point forward because of that situation. Um, that type of honesty is, at least in my perspective, the most life changing honesty. Um, and it's very hard to accept that honesty at times because I know in early sobriety and sometimes even now, I come across something that I've dealt with or my reaction to something brings up a lesson that I should have learned years ago. And the reality is that situation or whatever that I didn't learn from then, I've been acting a shitty way since then because I did not want to accept that it happened and learn to heal from it. Um, but yeah, with that, open minded. What does open minded mean to everyone? Go ahead, Chris.
Gay.
What? Did you just say gay? We know what you are.
I mean, if you're open minded to it.
Hi, Joshy Washi.
Hello.
Since you came in, let me ask you this. What is your opinion on the definition or the meaning of open-minded, being open-minded?
Uh, kind of just like being open for suggestions. Like, say, like I'm at a meeting and I'm going through something, and then I tell somebody what's going on, and like they give me a suggestion. It's kind of like being open minded would be taking that suggestion into consideration, and like it will help me instead of just, oh, they're wrong and my way's better.
I like that. Nate, I saw your
Right.
hand go up and down, and then D, your hand's up as usual.
Yeah, I mean, open-mindedness is what, the Juggalos are supposed to stand for, right? We're open-minded to all and everyone, no matter your color, race, all of that. And for me, being open-minded is also, not being judgmental and being open-minded to other people that I see around. Like, I'm open-minded as far as like, opening my mind to like what they're going through and what their status is, right? And not trying to judge as much as I do. I'm not perfect at it, but just being open-minded that that person is just struggling just like I am in a different way. Just being open-minded. That's the definition of being a juggalo, is being open-minded.
100%. Go ahead, D.
Yeah, so yeah, open-mindedness is willing to throw your your ideas of life, God, recovery, all those things. When you come into recovery, you got to cast those aside, or else you're not going to learn and grow as a person. So it's willing to take yourself and your views out of a situation and listen to somebody where they're coming from, and taking what you can learn and grow from that situation and apply it to your life and your situations. You know what I mean? So without being open-minded, like some of us have had religious stuff in our youth growing up, you know what I mean? And that when you see the fucked up shit that happens in the world or with your own life situations, it makes you question these concepts you had instilled, right? Um, so it's being able to look past these concepts that were put into your life throughout your life, to be willing to learn something from somebody else so you can grow from the situations. Like I grew up, well, I'll talk about it more later, but you know what I mean? If you grew up atheist and you didn't believe in God, or if you grew up in the church and your God was Christian God or a Catholic God or whatever, right? And now you're getting sober and you got to find this higher power to help you with your addictions, but you're still in the mindset of this religion instead of a spiritual aspect, right? You don't get a lot of growth that way because you're closed minded to that maybe there is something larger at play than myself. You know what I mean? And some people start off just like we do, like in the Juggalos in Recovery. It's about the community, right? You rely on your community. The community at that time is like a higher power. You know what I mean? And it helps you gain when you're open minded to those people in the community and hear them talking about their own spirituality, that maybe I have these concepts wrong. You know what I mean? Maybe if these things they're doing and applying in their life are working to help them change and grow, maybe it'll work for me too, right? So like in my early recovery, there was this guy that passed away, and every time I to this meeting on his back porch, I'd walk into his house. He's like, "Hey, how you doing, brother? I love you." And he'd give me a hug, and I get squeamish, and I'm like, "How do you love me? You don't know me. I hate myself. You're letting me in your house. This is weird." But his higher power was love, and the connections he sees in the love he sees between people. And I was like, "Oh, well, that's a good conception of a higher power, because everybody can see love." You know what I mean, in one degree or another. So it's just being willing to cast aside your old ideas and be open-minded to new ones, basically. And I said about Nate's share what I felt like saying in the group chat, because we're us juggalos are very open-minded to a very degree, a very crazy degree, except for when it applies to certain situations. With that, I'll
Correct.
shut up.
So when I first got sober, and before I got sober, I was a very closed-minded individual. I was very blocked off to understanding other people's point of views. I was set in my ways, and I refused to grow. Once I got sober, I realized the only way that I could grow is by learning from other people and their experiences. You'll hear me say a lot that, in my opinion or in my experience, I have to say that because one of the things that I learned is by saying that it helps people accept what I'm saying as not forcing them to do the things that I have done. And I had to learn to talk that way because I tend to come off very overbearing and pushy, especially when it comes to sobriety. But I fought that change for years because I was like, well, fuck you. If you don't understand what the fuck I'm saying, then why the fuck should I change it? But the reality is, I had to be open to that change. I had to be able to understand that not everybody deals with things or understands things the same way I do. One of the things I wanted to talk about with being open-minded is the benefits of being open-minded. The first one is there's a lot less confrontation when you're open-minded. One, because if you walk into a situation with no expectations and you are open-minded, open to the fact that in this conversation or situation, there are going to be things that you don't agree with, but they don't have to change your life, then you can move on with your life without it affecting you long term or even short term. If you walked into the same situation closed off with holding the expectation that you're either going to change the other people's mind in the situation or that the other people already think the way you do or have the same opinion you do, and when they express different than your expectations, that's when confrontation happens, whether it's inwardly with yourself or outwardly with other people. Another benefit I've gotten from being open-minded is I've been able to be more empathetic and understand other people's positions because I was able to receive their experience for without wanting or needing to say something back. It's helped me. There's a lot of things in life that I don't have personal experience in, but I can, because of my mindset and being open to other people's views and doing my best to be empathetic and compassionate and understanding, it allows me to accept them for who they are, what they're going through, whatever their story is, more openly than being like, no, what you're doing is wrong. So I could run Juggalos in recovery with, nope, we're going to do it this way. Oh, you're only able to come in here if you're a Juggalo, and that's the end of story. That's not the end of story. I'd give 2 flying fucks if you're a Juggalo. The reality is, if you need help, we're going to help you. It's literally our step 12. Juggalo or not, if you're a human, we're here to help you. Open-minded is allowing the universe to give you what you need when you need it. Accepting. Acceptance comes in play a lot in life. I've already touched on it with what I just said, being accepting of other people's stories and experiences. What are some other things that you personally or you have seen others have to accept that are either hard or things that every human being has to accept? Anyone? Go ahead, Ernie.
Yeah, one of the biggest things that have been and sometimes still is a problem for me is accepting that other people are not ready to fix problems they have. They're not ready to face their own demons, or they're not ready. Sometimes when you really care about somebody, you want to try to help, and it's hard to accept when they're just not ready to accept help or anything. Sometimes you just have to accept and move on to help yourself. That's a big one, accepting that everybody has their own path and their own timing.
Mm-hmm. And something I want to point out too, Ernie, with that thought process is one of the things I had to realize, especially in the position that I'm in, is we've put other people in that position where they watched us suffer and beat our own selves down, and they had to accept what we were doing to ourselves. That's something that
Absolutely.
was a hard reality to accept for me. Go ahead, Nate.
Ernie just made a whole bunch of really good points, but and you know, I haven't had like an external conflict with somebody in a really long time, which just happened recently. But internally, I'm having this conflict all the time, you know, and I'm still working on that. But externally, I've been pretty damn good about it. But a good example of people not working on themselves, right? You know, you have to kind of respect everybody's, you know, journey, where they're at and things like that. But like this one person in my life, I had to tell him to go fuck himself and that he was being a piece of shit, and I'm not going to put up with it, you know. And I haven't had to do that in a really long time, and I did it in like a tactful, creative way, but he still got really upset. And basically, what he told me is, you know, you don't have to tell me I'm a piece of shit. I already know I am, you know. And it was like, oh, okay, well, so you're not willing to like work on yourself. That's cool, like. But anyway, I had to like draw this boundary, right? So like I built a boundary. I tactfully tried to like, you know, draw it with it. Got upset. You know, I'm not really even mad anymore because, you know, he's on his own journey. He knows he's being a piece of shit and he seems to be okay with it. And I just don't have to participate in that anymore, you know. Um, but I think I'm rambling. But yeah, it's just, you know, everybody's on their own journey and we all have to accept people for who they are, or, you know, draw that boundary. It's just, you know, the way life works, I guess. But yeah, that's all I got.
I like that, Nate. Anybody else on accepting? Logan, I'm calling on you. Oh, Logan. Gosh, Logan's ignoring me.
He's out of at the moment.
Okay, well, let me let Logan know when he comes back. It's his turn to have an opinion on this. Chris, what is your opinion on accepting? I feel like your life has had to deal with a lot of accepting.
Acceptance to me always it's a difficult topic to approach because you can't force people to accept reality.
Mm-hmm.
And the biggest thing for me as far as acceptance goes is I have to be okay with some people just not being connected to that. I have to accept the fact that most people won't accept the way things are and will want them to be different even when they're not able to change it.
Yeah. Who hasn't talked yet? Cassie, do you have anything to add?
On acceptance, I think that's a really hard subject for me because I'm trying to learn how to better accept people, but also it's kind of hard when you're going through recovery, but you see other people that are in active addiction and they know that they need help and they say that they need help, but they just won't get it. And it's frustrating, but at the same time, you have to accept them for who they are. And that's kind of what happened with my mom is like she knew as a lifelong addict and I accepted her as an addict my whole life, but at the same time it was like, boy, why, how can you like act like this and live like this when you see me and my kids and you're choosing to live this way? I don't understand it. And in the end she ended up passing from fentanyl, so it's something that angered me. So I still struggle with accepting a little bit just because to me when I got sober I went cold turkey and I did it because I knew I was going to die and my kids weren't going to have a mother. So I just stopped. And I never understood the people that were struggling with it. I had to learn all about addiction being more of a disease. For a lot of years, I believed it was more of a choice, something that you wanted to do. If you wanted to stop, if it was really that bad, you would. And that's not true at all. And so that's still something that I'm kind of learning on my journey in recovery. Because when I talk to people that are in active addiction who've lost their kids or they lost their house and they're living in a car, and why do you want to live like that? And that's like a really bad thing to say because that's not what they want. So yeah, it's something I'm still working on myself because I see both sides of the spectrum, but at the same time, I have a hard time accepting it because I see so much potential in so many people that they don't see in themselves, and I just want to shake them. Like, what is wrong with you? Wake up.
Yeah, I know how that is too. One thing that's helped me personally learn to accept that form of reality is I stopped looking at addiction as a disease and more of a symptom. And that's something that I cover a lot in my talks is addiction, no matter what you're addicted to, there is a very high chance that you are trying to escape something, whether it's trauma, boredom, like one of the people in this group, which gave me a deeper insight into addiction. But usually you're trying to escape something. The majority of the time, from what I've heard from people and the stories I've read and all that, a lot of the times we are trying to escape from feeling something that we're uncomfortable with or not knowing how to process something. Um, so the real quote unquote disease is our past and not knowing how to process it and accept it for what it is. So when I deal with active addicts, I don't look at them as someone who's sick, but as someone who just needs help. And I remember where I was in that moment when I was in active addiction and I needed help, and I give them what I needed in the beginning. Um, for me, that's what helped me. If that helps you, I'm happy. If not, I hope you find a way to accept that. It is just something that is hard to deal with no matter who you are. And I'm sorry that you are having to deal with that. Dee, go ahead.
Acceptance. Oh, my favorite thing to read in early recovery every fucking day, because everything pissed me off. And I'm going to talk about that later because my stuff's about early recovery and long-term sobriety. And until I can accept that every person, place, situation is exactly how it's supposed to be and I can do nothing about it, I will not find peace. Everything will irritate me. I cannot dictate what people feel, think, or do. But I can talk about spiritual matters and suggest things and suggest ways to change and grow. And that's fine and dandy, but nothing convinces them more than seeing a group of people actually living by those things they're talking about. And then they start to realize, well, if this is actually working and this is who they are all the time, then maybe I can change too. You know what I mean? Um, there's only three things I was told that I can control: how I feel, how I act, what I say. Right? So everybody else, how they feel, how they act, what they say, I have to accept that for what it is. I can do nothing to change the way they feel, no matter how hard I try. And looking into like Al-Anon and codependency problems, because I feel like everybody who has suffered with alcoholism and addiction has codependency problems. Like, I can't go around people pleasing you to make you feel different about me. That's not healthy for me, you know? So I just have to accept the situations are designed. And like we always talk about Hobson, Illmind, is this a lesson or a blessing? Is this the season? Is there a reason this stuff's going on? Is it to help me grow and change and better myself? And look at it that way. Like, we're never going to stop people from doing what they want to do. And it's kind of like your workshop is set up, but you start with acceptance. When you can accept that you have a problem, that you can do something different about it, and then you become open-minded to new ideas, then you become honest with yourself, and then you become willing. So backwards, then all the change prevails. But it all starts with accepting your problems first. I accept this is an issue, that this isn't good, that I can't handle life on life's terms. I'm maladjusted to life, so I do all these things that are harmful to me and the people around me. Now that I'm open-minded with myself, and now I'm being open-minded with other people that are doing something different, if I can get honest and willing with myself, I can make a difference. You know what I mean? But everything works hand in hand. You know what I mean? You could be willing, honest, and open-minded all you want, but if you can't accept that you have problems and that other people have problems too, and meet people where they're at and accept where you're at and learn to love yourself where you're at and grow, because you don't want to be where you're stuck at, you're kind of just screwed. You know what I mean? Because all these topics are a hand-in-hand thing.
Mm-hmm.
They all work with each other. And if one key component's missing, it still equals misery without a drink or a drug. And with that, I'm going to shut the fuck up.
I like that. Logan.
Acceptance is a great topic. Right now, I'm still struggling with it. I feel Casey's or Cassie's, I don't want to mess up your name, but my mother and stepfather are currently doing fentanyl, and right now that's been like a whole thing I'm trying to accept in my life, that again, no matter how much I try to talk to them, or no matter how much I bring up my feelings or what I'm thinking, it won't really matter because I can't force them to do anything. It's their life. I can't be the reason why they stop something. But but it's still really hard to accept that. So still trying to learn myself, but I really appreciate you guys talking about this. And with that, I'm done.
Thanks, Logan. Nate, you're up.
Acceptance is the answer, is a, part of the big book. And, at first I'm like, fuck that. Like, and I still get that way. It's like, I have to accept people for being the shitty people they are, or I have to accept the situation. Like, fuck all that. Like, but it's true. I mean, it really is. If you can't accept the situation for what it is and what opportunity it might bring you, you're just going to be miserable. And I find myself there a lot. Like, I get on these meetings and I tell people like all this shit, and like, I'm no expert at any of this. Like, I suck ass. Like, I still get, resentful of people. I still get, in my feelings, and not accepting of certain things. And it does. It drives me crazy, and it will fuck your serenity up. So acceptance really is the answer. If I can just accept it for what it is, knowing that there's some sort of plan in place, I'll just live a better life. I'll live a happier life. And like, some horrible shit happened to me at the Whitney Payton show a couple weeks back. It opened, like, at first I was like, fuck this. Like, what did I do to deserve this? You know what I mean? But it was like, well, it happened for a reason. There's a reason why it did what it did. Like, the person that was with me happened to doing a lot better. Life a little bit more important than what she was before. Started taking care of herself, things like that. It all happened for a reason. I still have yet to see fully what the reason is, but I've accepted that it is what it is, and it's going to be, how everything's going to be fine. But yeah, acceptance is, if you don't have a big book, if you pick one up and have heart, it really does open you up for that acceptance part of life.
Thanks, Nate. Go ahead, D.
Yeah, I just wanted to talk to you real quick, Logan, maybe because I got two kids and I didn't get sober till 5 years ago, and my kids are 12 and 7. And I tried to overdose and kill myself with two kids. I love my kids dearly, but when I'm in active addiction, all the love for my kids in the world won't change those internal feelings, those things from my life that accumulated that I'm trying to numb and block out. So don't take it so much as it's you, because it's not. It's them as being in active addiction, and whatever has happened in their life that has traumatized them that they are unwilling to heal and grow from. They probably still love you dearly, but they don't know how to show it because they're damaged, they're broken, they're addicted. And that is so much more powerful than anything else. And the only thing that gets rid of that power is some willingness, honesty, open-mindedness, and acceptance, what we're talking about. So I know it hurt my son when I was back in jail again, and I'm calling him from the phone, and he's like, "Are you in jail again?" And I'm 30 years old and in jail again, and I've spent most of my life behind bars, and that tore me to pieces. But until I got sober for myself, because I was tired of my own shit, it didn't matter. I tried to get sober for my wife and kids. That lasted about 6 months. So don't think it's you, because it's not. Once you start understanding addiction and how addicts actively are, it's not your fault. They are not them. Their higher power is a drug right now because of life and whatever they've been through, and they can't break free of that higher power until they find something else to replace it with.
I appreciate that, D. I really do. That helps a lot with the situation. It's been going on for a couple of years, so it's been definitely a struggle, but learning how to cope with it.
Let me find it. Hey, Panda, you know what page the sick man's prayer is on? All right. Well, there's this prayer, right? When we run into those people in these situations that that we can't deal with in the big book, and it's the sick man's prayer. And it basically says that um, God show us this love, patience, kindness that we would show a sick friend, somebody who has cancer, somebody who has this, because the rest of the world isn't going to show the addict that patience. So when you understand that these people that are in active addiction are still sick and suffering, and you can show them that compassion and kindness in your heart, like this is a sick person, whoever you are out there, can you help them
I
and
got it,
show
dude.
me towards them?
It's
Like
page,
it helps with those
it's,
shitty situations.
it's page 67. It says, God, when a person offends me, help me to remember this is a sick person. Help me show the same tolerance, pity, and patience that we would cheerfully grant a sick friend. Show me how I can help them. Save me from being angry. Thy will be done.
So your parents are the sick people and you're the victim of their sickness. So all you can do is whatever it is you believe in, pray that eventually you can help them, and that you can have kindness and compassion towards what they're going through, which will help you see it's not your fault. It's they're sick and suffering. It doesn't matter that you're their child. They are battling something way stronger than anything else in life. So you can be like what I said, the person leading, showing the way, doing Al-Anon, teen recovery, all this. And maybe they see you doing this and you start talking some stuff, right? And maybe you plant those seeds to where they do something different. But until then, it's just like you're praying for the sick man that you know, that hurts you, some tolerance of the situation and some kindness towards them, and praying that something changes and they find something that will help them overcome the addiction and the demons they're battling, you know?
Yeah, thank you so much again, you guys. That definitely helped a lot with how I've been mentally lately.
It's a hard thing to do. I was an angry teen. My parents got divorced. I felt the brunt of it. I hated my dad for a decade. You don't have to spend your life hating them and being hurt by them. I wish I would have known these
Yeah,
things sooner, and it would have helped me. And maybe I wouldn't have been as fucked up as I was my whole life till the age of 30. So yeah.
the yeah, like the thing with them, like I don't hate them. Um, they see what I like go on every week. They see what I do, and my mom really likes it. I never hated her. Don't want to hurt her either. It's just, yeah, it's getting to my brother. I don't want to have I'm trying to like help my brother. Like, told him about coming here to try to, help himself. Like, try to communicate what he does, like what's going on. But now he's a pothead and doesn't want to do anything else but smoke weed to keep himself from dealing with it. But that's like. But again, thank you guys so much. You guys very helpful.
You're concrete. You got some shit to say?
Um, yeah, accepting. Yeah, it's one of the hardest things to accept is that I couldn't control other people, but I could control what I choose to do, and what I try and choose to do is just distance myself from said people unless there's some change. But I feel like if I feel like my mental health is, um, when I feel my mental health is at stake, I mean, all I can do is distance myself from said person, and also accepting that it's not anybody's responsibility to accept me, and that's led to a lot less resentments. Um, Accepting things for what it is. I mean, the hardest thing for me to accept was that I couldn't drink or get high anymore, or just accepting that my life wasn't going to move forward in the direction I wanted it to go. unless I stopped and I let go of that. And then the next thing was letting go of people I wanted to accept me that just weren't going to, and learning to understand that it was, it's out of my control. Like it's whatever people have going on. That's that's their own internal thing. Whatever little things about me bother them, like or it's kind of like auditioning for a film. Like whoever's casting, they already got an idea in their head of what they want, and you have no control of that. And it's a lot better to go through the situation of go through the process of auditioning, just knowing it's out of your control. You just do the best you can and move forward and stop beating yourself up and just keep moving forward. Um, so, something about acceptance is a really tough topic. Something you just, it's like something you really don't want to talk about because it's just like one of the hardest things for an addict to learn is acceptance. And that's why we chose to get loaded so we didn't have to deal with accepting anything. I guess that's all I have.
Thanks, Concrete. Well, that concludes the Woe Workshop